Hello there guys, and welcome back to our car modeling tutorial here. In this episode I think we're going to continue to work down the top, down the back of the car here, maybe onto the trunk lid or the boot lid, and then we'll maybe start to think about working our way around and creating some of the details of that rear section there. In the last episode we worked up across the hood here, we worked up across the roof, so we can see that we're starting to take a little bit of shape. Firstly, if you can hear the fan in the background, apologies, it's super hot today, so hopefully that's not going to be interfering with the microphone too much. I think what we could maybe start with is maybe start with the hood a little bit here. I've also thickened up the lines, just hopefully that you'll be able to see them a little bit better. I looked at some of the videos, and especially against the yellow background it was quite hard to see, so I've thickened those up, so hopefully that will be a little bit better for you now. It looks like what we want from the hood here, judging by the reference image, I've got this cool image here of it taken off on a drag strip. We can see that it does actually curve up a little bit more underneath there than we have. Currently we're fairly straight, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball that a little bit here. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Then we'll maybe take this line as well. I'm just going to pull those up ever so slightly. I also reselected Ctrl D, Ctrl G to bring this side in here. Like I said before, we will be duplicating special so that this side edits at the same time as this one. I do generally like to keep the file that I started with. So obviously I save an iteration after every episode, but I can see what I start with here and then how it ends, so it's a nice little contrast. Also, if I make any major mistakes that I can't go back on, I've still got my original one there as well. What we could do is let's actually have a look at just making the little kind of the nostril here, the actual intake. So I'm just going to grab these faces and hit delete. We could extrude from those faces, but it's not really going to make too much of a difference here. So I'm going to grab my edges. I'm going to hit Ctrl E for extrusion. I probably have to do it on the world, and I'm just going to scale it in here on both sides ever so slightly. It doesn't matter too much because we will fine tune it. And it looks like our top edges here are fairly thick. It curves underneath, so we're going to want to make sure that we're making it a little bit thicker than it actually should be, because it will curve down, and we'll maybe just pull it out ever so slightly here. And I'm going to grab this end one, holding X, and we'll snap that to the center. It looks like at the bottom here, I'm going to snap this one too, it looks like down here we actually want to go in rather than up. So I'll find a good balance in between there, something like that. And then this vertices here, we want to kind of reflect that similar kind of thickness through there. And it looks like we're going to want some extra thickness on the side here, maybe to match going up and around the top, because it does look like it does have an insert inside there, plastic shroud of some kind. So we'll just bring that in, and then of course we want these two to kind of be similar, so we'll maybe bring this inner one in slightly as well. Maybe something like that. And again, that's something we'll fine tune a little bit later once we come to adding in the details inside there. That's going to be fine for now. And then when we do smooth this off, obviously this is going to curve around nicely. We can actually test the smooth. If we select the object here and just hit 3 on the keyboard, it will do a subdivisions there, and it will show you how it will end up curving around there. We can hit 1 to take that back. We don't really want to care too much about that until the time comes when we are starting to smooth everything out, make the body lines a little bit smoother and things. But it will just give you a good idea again of how things are going to kind of move. We can see down here that that's taking shape a lot nicer as well, which is good. Okay, so we're looking good there, so let's maybe continue where we left off before. one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another line in here. So I'm going to grab my edge loop tool, and I'm just going to drag and drop a line about halfway between, and then just maybe give it a slight pull up the way there, just to help us kind of curve off that roof just a little bit as well. And now what we'll do is we'll probably work down this back section here. Let me just find some decent reference images for the rear section. So this is quite a good one. We can see how we've got kind of like a significant crease that runs that full side. We can see it quite well there. That moves down onto the roof. So if we have a look at our blueprints, we can see that we do actually have that on here, which is good. And then that kind of like tees off to run down here, which should meet nicely with that singular edge that we have from the edge of the bonnet there, which is good. So again, we're going to want to do this in as fewer moves essentially as possible. Yesterday, when I made the video in the previous episode, I started to run down this side here, but I think that'll end up giving us too many edges to run down here, which is no good. So what we'll do is we'll maybe take this all the way. It will help us kind of maintain the line that we have here as well, and then we'll extrude a single edge down there, and then we'll run a brand new one through here. So I'm going to select all of these edges here. I'm going to hit Control E, and I'm going to drag all of those down to this portion here. I'm not going to worry about this section in there just yet, but we'll bring that down something like that. That's looking okay. And then what we'll do is we'll bring all of these just to match a little bit nicer. It looks like maybe I've got a little extra something. Maybe I selected something a bit too many there. I'm just going to run through and merge these just to make sure that I didn't do any damage. Okay. So we'll pull that down, and we'll use our top view here to kind of get those in position. So we know this edge here we want to be tucked up nicely inside there. We know this edge we'll want to follow around here, and then the same with this one there. And we can see that the whole roof is kind of arching to the left here, so we'll maybe try and smooth that out here. And then all of these edges will pull ever so slightly in this direction as well, just to kind of help us get a little bit more space in between those sections. It looks like this is probably sitting a little bit too low, so I'm just going to run through and double check all of this in my perspective view. Again, we want everything running nice and smooth down here, so that's looking okay. I think maybe these portions here do want to come up a little bit more. Okay. And then let's go now and grab this edge here. I'm going to hit Control E, and we'll pull this one down just now. Okay, so it's not looking the nicest in that view. It's looking okay for the most part. What we can do is I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to check my back view. So again, the quality of these blueprints isn't great, but you can see that that's feeding around there quite nice, which is good. Side view not too much, but the top view and the back view look fine. So if need be, we'll come back and we'll balance it out in the perspective view, but I think we should be good. And then obviously we want these edges here to move out like so. Just maybe a little bit higher there. Okay, that's looking okay. We're looking pretty good across there too. Let's maybe think about this kind of inner section. So let's grab all of these edges here. Not that one. So I'll grab all of these edge sections. I'm going to hit Control E, and I'm just going to pull out. We'll maybe use the world just to make sure, and I'll scale in there like so. Or maybe push out just a little bit here, and in my top view I'm going to make sure that I snap these, and let's just push these out nicely. Again, we want to pull a lot of these back because we do want them to sit, kind of follow the same trajectory as these lines, obviously until we start to get to the kind of curved section there. Let's just do these nice and carefully one by one. Again, we want this bit to obviously fall in line there, which means it will be helpful if this is a little bit straighter here. This can obviously help our curve. This can come around here, and then this one will probably want to sit maybe just there. It's looking quite nice. In our side view here, again, it's not the best. Again, want to make sure we're following this line down here. This one we obviously want to be a bit lower, and then we want our curve just to be nice and smooth going around here. Looks a little bit bobbly just now, which is not very good. Okay, and then maybe again, I use my perspective view a lot just to make sure that I'm on the right tracks with everything here. Okay, and now we look like we have quite a significant line that runs all the way along here. So let's grab this edge. I'm going to hit Control E and we'll pull this out. And we'll pull this out and then we'll match that curvature along there. We'll make sure we're sitting nicely on here. I think it's just maybe a little bit lower. So maybe something like that. And that's going to allow us now to do two things. We can actually run our line from here to here. We've also got a couple of lines that we can run along the back, so let's do that. We'll maybe form the trunk real quick. So I'm going to grab these, I'm going to hit Control E, I'm going to take them along. I'm going to square these off so they're nice and neat. We'll maybe pull them in a little bit too, so that they're matching that shape a little bit better. And we can start to see that we do descend down the way here. So what we'll do is let's maybe add two. So we'll go halfway for now. We'll have a look where that could fall. So that could fall quite nicely in line here, so that's good. Obviously we're going to want to make sure we're sitting a little bit lower. I'm going to hit Control E again to extrude one last time all the way to the end, or what looks like the end, just underneath the duckbill spoiler at the back. Do something like that. Maybe something like that. So we see now that we're really starting to get that kind of trunk shape at the back too, which is sitting nice and high. So for now the duckbill's in the way, so we'll do our best here just to kind of assume what we've got in terms of our shape. What we could do is we could actually rely on looking at some imagery of a standard Challenger, Dodge Challenger, just to give us that kind of idea. But what we'll do for now is let's grab these inner portions. It looks like this is separate. It could actually be a similar kind of idea to what we have here, however it's not joined according to my reference images here. It looks like a independent part of the actual hood, so a little kick up there, so the trunk, sorry. So I'm going to hit Control E and let's on the world go across and into the center here. I'll straighten that off. Okay, and I'm going to assume that the trunk here kind of follows a similar kind of shape as that rear section. Inside there. And let's just pull this into position here. And then what I think we'll do is we'll grab this and we're just going to pull it ever so slightly higher. So up something like that, and we can see that kind of detail that we have just there. I think what might actually be the best option is for this to go here and here. Because what that will allow, if I can bring this back now, maybe just something, try and find a nice middle ground there. What that should allow is us then to actually facilitate that section ourselves to run it up next to that, which shouldn't be an issue. What we'll do is we'll try and match what we've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3 lines there for now, so let's just add those 3 lines in, maybe here, here and here. And that will allow us to build in our curve, like so. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to check that now on the back. It's a little bit awkward when it comes to using the back because, you know, you've got to actually select it independently every time. Obviously we've got the spoiler cover in here, which makes it a little bit awkward for us to actually see that back line. So we will probably have to work with these, but let's grab these edges. I'm going to hit Control E to extrude, pull them up and along just now, and let's try something like this. Oops. I don't know if you guys have that same problem with Maya where it's not actually right clicking sometimes, but pull this in like so, and then let's just look to achieve that curve too. Again, this is probably something we'll pay a lot more attention to when the time comes, but we'll just pull that little ridge up just there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So we're starting to really get the kind of idea of the shape and length of the car here, which is nice. Okay, so let's have a think then now about this rear wheel section. Let's have a look at getting this into the correct position. So if we do maybe something like this, we already flipped this, so our front geometry here should theoretically match when we do bring this along there, which is fine. Let's see, it does look like we do need to adjust the kind of circle here. Obviously the wheel arches of a lot of cars differ from front to back because you have to allow in there for the wheel to turn. So it looks like this one's a lot shallower, so we'll just bring all of these points in here. Obviously we're going to need to consider where these bumpers will cut and things. Again, where the diffuser kind of area starts up here. Let's bring this up. And then it looks as well like the actual wide body arch that we have on here is a little bit larger too. So we'll try and maintain the same kind of angles with these, and we'll just pull these out. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. What we can also do is we can also use our rear view again. So we can see that this currently is quite a ways out. So the track on the rear is obviously a lot different to the track at the front. So let's pull this something like that to the furthest point. Let's start to work at these back sections here. So firstly let's start with this portion. Let's actually bring that up here, so it's in line with the diffuser. Let's straighten this up as well. This one, I think what we'll do is we'll actually bring this one up here. So this is going to be a nice little cut for the rear bumper there, which will allow us to bring this one up in between here. And then obviously we want to bring that in, and also we will need to adjust the kind of the actual wide body portions separately. And then here we can bring this into the spot. Okay. And we're just doing essentially what we did at the front here. When we were working on the front, we used the front angle to pull all of these arch sections kind of into the right spot. So we're really just doing that again as we go up and around here. Obviously it's going to get tricky again as we come around to this front section. But we can see that this has got quite a lot more severe kind of flare to it. And then luckily the tyre, the actual offset is fairly sunken there. Fitment's not great, so that means that we can bring these roughly into the position that they should be. And then we'll probably have to eyeball these last couple here. Maybe something like that. And then if we go up top, let's do one last little look here. You can maybe tell from this top view that one's looking okay. Maybe a little bit further sunken for these ones. And then what we'll do for the rest is we'll just try and bring them out nice and smooth. So that's looking pretty good. Let's jump in here. Let's just do perspective view now. So I like to do the perspective view just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. So we'll go ahead and just make sure that these curves are nice as they run around here. Again, we want to do as much as like the heavy lifting as we can when the geometry is at its least. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Looks like we should be able to link up quite nicely up here. We could maybe run another line up there as well. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. I think then in the next episode what we'll do is we'll start to bring this portion around the back. We'll start to work towards the rear bumper. We'll probably spend as much time on the rear bumper as we did on the front. It's not too detailed, but we do have the diffuser as well that we need to work down and around, so we'll probably do the bumper, then onto the diffuser. Once we've got those nailed, it will be a case really of bridging the gap that we have in between here. It's a very simple shape in this midsection, and then kind of bring those 2 points together. Alright guys, so as usual, hit the like button if you enjoyed the episodes. If you didn't, hit the dislike button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.